Hello everyone, myself Dr. Deeksha from the Department of Prosthodontics. Today we'll be talking on anatomical landmark of mandible. Have you seen elderly individuals struggling with their lower denture? The way it slips while they are talking or the way it pops up while they are laughing. Why is a lower denture more trickier than that of the upper denture? What is that in that lower jaw which causes the struggle in getting the stability of the lower denture? Today we will decode the clues in order to obtain a denture with a good stability which enhances the patients to eat or smile confidently. Why is the mandible challenging? There are two things in it. One is the less surface area, second thing is the more variation in the lower jaw. So specific learning objectives: to identify the anatomical landmarks of the edentulous mandible, to classify and draw all the major anatomical landmarks of the edentulous mandible, to understand each one's prosthetic significance. What is a mandibular cast? A cast is a rigid model of the patient lower jaw capturing every ridge and the valley you need to understand for making a denture or designing a denture. So anatomical landmark of mandible is classified into three sections, that is limiting structure, supporting structure and the relief areas. So what are these limiting structure? This forms the borders in the mandible. This includes labial frenum, labial vestibules, buccal frenum, buccal vestibules, alveolingual sulcus, lingual frenum, retromolar pad and pterygomandibular raphe. What is the role of these limiting structure? Border the tissues, set the maximum outline of any lower denture. Encroachment in this region leads to a pain, or if it is short of flanges, then it causes a loose denture. Labial frenum. Labial frenum in the mandible is short and wider than that of the maxilla. It is basically a fibrous band with the muscle attachment and it is active in nature. Hence, proper relief must be given in order to get the comfort and the stability of the denture. Next is the labial vestibule. It extends from labial frenum to the buccal frenum. The length and thickness of the labial flange influence the lip support and retention. Overextension causes the instability and soreness. Next is the buccal frenum. It overlies the depressor anguli oris and the fibers of the buccinator muscle which is attached to it. Moves with various facial expression. Denture must be provided a notch in order to get the stability. Buccal vestibule. Buccal vestibule extends from the buccal frenum to the retromolar pad region. Residual alveolar ridge is on one side and the buccinator on the other side, influenced by the action of masseter muscle. Lingual frenum. The fold of mucous membrane existing when the lip of the tongue is elevated. The height and the width of the frenum varies considerably. If the lingual frenum attachment is in the greater height, then it is called as tongue tie. Proper relief has to be given in this region, or else it will lead to the lift of the denture while talking. Alveolingual sulcus. The space between the residual ridge and the tongue extending from the lingual frenum to the retromylohyoid curtain. These regions are divided into three sections, that is posterior region, middle region and the anterior region. The anterior region extends from the lingual frenum to the premyloid fossa. The anterior portion of the lingual phalange is called as sublingual crescent. Middle region, that is from the premyloid fossa to the distal end of the myloid ridge. The sulcus curves medially from this mandible and the curvature is caused by the prominence of the myloid ridge. Here in this lingual flange, in this region, it is below the level of the myloid ridge. Hence, the tongue rests over the denture. This aids in the stability of the denture. Posterior region, that is retromylohyoid space or fossa. It extends from the end of the mylohyoid ridge to the retromylohyoid curtain. Proper recording gives a typical S form in the lingual flange. Now talking about the retromolar pad. It's a pear-shaped area containing a glandular and the loose alveolar connective tissue. It forms the posterior end of the lower edentulous ridge. Boundaries are posteriorly tendons of the temporalis, laterally we have buccinator, medially pterygomandibular raphe and the superior constrictor. So this region actually divided into 3 segments, and it determines the occlusal table width and the height. So the denture should extend till the 2/3 of the retromolar pad. Pterygomandibular raphe. Pterygomandibular raphe arises from the hamular process of the medial pterygoid plate and gets attached to the myloid ridge. Now talking about the supporting structure or the stress bearing area. What are stress bearing areas? These are the areas where the chewing force are directed. The best areas are those with the strong and the thick tissue. Primary stress bearing area, we have buccal shelf area, which is bounded by buccal frenum, retromolar pad and the crest of the ridge and the external oblique ridge. The buccal shelves absorb the most of the forces. Why is buccal shelf area is more important? It has a dense cortical bone oriented at right angle to the occlusal load. If you miss this area, then stability suffers. Secondary stress bearing area, that is the residual ridge slopes. After the buccal shelf area, the buccal and the lingual slopes of the residual ridge carry the remaining chewing forces. Here it is except the crest of the ridge because it undergoes a resorption. Hence, alveolar ridge is not always the ideal. If the resorption is advanced, the ridge is no longer suitable for holding or carrying the heavy forces. This becomes clinically challenging. Now, relief areas or no pressure zones. Why provide the relief areas in certain areas? Pressure here causes a pain, ulcer, numbness or a long-term tissue damages. First thing we have is a mental foramen, the hole in the bone carrying a nerves and the vessels usually opposite to the premolars. As the resorption advances, this mental foramen approaches near to the alveolar ridge, hence pressure on this region leads to paresthesia or the numb lip. Genial tubercles, bony lumps on this inside lower midline, prominent in case of the resorbed jaws, they must always be relieved. Mylohyoid ridge, bony prominence along the lingual aspects of the mandible. Soft tissues usually hides the sharpness of the myloid ridge. This area must be relieved to avoid a pain, especially in case of the resorbed ridges. What happens as the ridge resorbs, the myloid ridge becomes more prominent, and the second thing is the mucous membrane covering the myloid ridge is also very thin. Hence, relief is a must. Mandibular tori, abnormally bony prominence usually found bilaterally and lingually near the first and second premolar. Reliefs in this area in the denture base is a must, or if it is large mandibular tori, it needs a surgical excision. So these are the anatomical landmarks of the mandible, which includes a limiting, supporting structure. And we have covered the limiting structures of the mandible, supporting structure, relief areas and its clinical significance on the denture fabrication. These are my references. Thank you.